Hello everyone and welcome back to Beneath the Lift Tower, fans podcast by fans for fans of Northampton Saints. Well, that was quite a weekend. How are you both doing? So I'm Charles McGilvray and I'm joined again by Jess and Simon Stacey. How are you both doing? Sore heads? Recovered yet?
I don't think we really know how to answer the question, do we?
No.
Oh,
I'm still a
crazy few days.
Yeah,
I don't even remember the game. I was like, oh my God, it was so nerve-wracking just watching that. And yeah, sorry. It's not like we like for words, but crikey, what an emotional roller coaster. That's supporting the Saints for you.
Yeah, they don't make it easy for us, do they? I mean, it's supposed to be a great day and all of that. I mean, it was bloody horrible. It was awful. I mean, obviously when we went the last time, it was almost like a myth. Living the dream. It's almost mythical actually winning the Premiership round, but we won it before, so that edge is slightly off. But also, like your head saying, "No, we're the better side." Your heart obviously believes that we're the better side, but then at a certain point during that game, it just sort of dawns on you, oh wait, what happens if we don't win? How's that going to feel? Because we were the best side all year. We've had some incredible games. We deserve, probably you could argue, the winner deserves it. Whoever wins deserves it. But that group deserved it. And just thank God they managed to play the worst rugby all year and still win it.
That just shows the growth in the team though, because 2 years ago they wouldn't have won that game. They played for and won it, and I was nervous. I nearly passed out at one stage. I was that head rush. I nearly fell. It was mental. The first one was mental because we were the underdogs. This one was mental because we were the favourites, and I told you in other podcasts, I hate us being favourites because all the pressure's on us. And then a banner went off, and I was like, oh my God, we should win this easy. And then Bath played better, and I was like, oh my God, what's going on? Beer didn't help. I was just,
But it was almost worse because a banner went off. We then scored. We got a bit of a couple of score lead, and it's like, oh, thank God, all this is going well. And then the momentum just went, and there was no way getting it back. Like Finn Russell, his ability to just pull them out of nowhere to get them back into the game with 14 men, and to be honest, he played better than us. It just shows you the heart and spirit of Northampton at the moment that they managed to find a way.
Well, I think kind of made it worse. Well, I had the privilege of sitting next to our first celebrity guest, Mr. John Slightholme, and his family, and going through it with John, watching him, like you could see the. It was weird watching because he's obviously been there, done it, and he's watching his little lad do it, and his granddad was sat next to me as well. It was just even more emotional because like when it was happening, when Ollie scored, they're jumping up, high-fiving, hugging. It was just madness. And his granddad, bless him, he was such a lovely. I didn't get his name in the end. I spoke to him the whole game and didn't get his name, but what an absolute legend. And yeah, to share that with John and see his face when stuff was happening. And I called Ollie's try. I said 5 minutes before, I said, Ollie will score the next try, and he did. I was like, should have put some money on that. Oh, mental, just mental. But we're champions, so yeah. Shoo on.
It's a day we're never gonna, you can't take it away from them. But wow, yeah. I mean, let's go through. Start going through it. I mean, it was pretty much give and take for a bit. No team was really on top. Defences were pretty key. I thought the press from Bath was pretty phenomenal. They really hit from wide out inwards, and we just couldn't get around them. And they put Finn and Dingers under quite a bit of pressure moving the ball, and we just couldn't really find that space. And it was just exchange of penalties. Hell of a drop goal from Finn. Hell of a drop goal.
I did call that one would happen. I did say it would happen at the end, but I did call one would happen. So I'll take it.
Is Sam Underhill part of a triplets or something? Because he seemed to be everywhere on that pitch. I swear that man was possessed. And wow, what a player!
Players don't tackle like Sam Underhill. Like he has levels of ability to hit. Like he hits with a harder force than I've ever seen a player hit. It's not like he carries okay and he's okay over the ball and he gets around the pitch and he's okay everything else. But his ability to hit people is like outrageously good.
Yeah, that hit on Langdon,
Yeah.
he absolutely poleaxed him, didn't he? He absolutely ruined him. I think he's popped his shoulder or something.
Yeah,
Absolutely wiped him out.
Yeah. And I think, was he the one that tackled? It was him on Mitchell as well, was it not? Absolutely insane tackle on Mitchell, yeah. I mean, yeah, the first 20 minutes, I felt like the first 20 minutes is what I was expecting, like a proper tussle where no one had gotten sort of the upper hand at that point. And then obviously we hit the red card on 20 minutes, and then it felt like overall like kind of 50-50 for the first 20, us in the second 20, and then that last 40 was, I don't know, it's weird, like having watched it back, like and this is not to downplay Bath, because to play like that for 14 men for 60 minutes is really impressive. But actually, I don't think, having watched it back, I don't think either team were anywhere close to being like the top kind of level that they can play. Like it was a very strange game in that sense.
I think it was the defences just got on top.
Yeah.
I think both teams' defences were pretty phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah.
The connectivity of the Saints for so long, for long periods. It was that sort of third 20-minute period, but just after half time, where Saints were under so much pressure without the ball, and they managed to cling on, and Bath, weren't putting the scores on, and you could say in that period was the sort of the graft was done that gave them the sort of pat in the way, because Bath then had to go back to the drawing board. But you say that let's get to into the red card. The Bath fans in front of me were sort of slightly adamant that it wasn't. But I mean, the way I see it is, and I think Christoph Ridley called it perfectly.
Yep.
Augustus has ran in fairly upright. He's running slightly low. He's not the tallest bloke, slightly low, but there's no change in his height. And Bano's just come in and absolutely smoked him. Bolt upright,
Exactly.
shoulder to head. So there's head contact. So letter of the law, that's foul play. Is there any mitigation? Bano's not trying to make a legal tackle because he's bolt upright. Augustus hasn't suddenly dipped. It's forceful. I think it's as straight a red as you're gonna get. I mean, they've been the laws for a long time now. This isn't something different. That they've been the laws for a long time, and I think it's stonewall. You compare that to the Furbank head contact 10 minutes earlier. Furbank's slipping, And
he's literally on his knees, Furbank, at that point. Like, there's nothing that tackler can do to change anything about that situation.
Yeah, I think it was Charlie Earls who was basically on his knees anyway, making that contact. So it's clear. There's no, it's just an error. Mitigation, sudden drop, and also Earls was low already, so he's trying to make a legal tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Abana was always going up as well. If you look at his movement, he's going up, so his shoulder's going into Augustus's chin. So,
I think that's what the key thing was. I think they said that there is a slight kind of bend from Abana. It's not a big one. There's a slight one, but the problem is that he pushes up into the contact. It's not like he stays at that level. Because I think if he'd stayed at that level, they may have considered it. But I think it's the push up right as the contact is about to happen that kind of solidified it for me. And I'll be honest, there are obviously going to be some Bath fans that are going to be adamant it wasn't. The overwhelming majority that I see seem to think it was a pretty fair call, and that if you had it the other way, that's what you would want. If a Saints person had done that, that's what they'd be looking for, and they'd be disappointed if they didn't get it. It's not. Look, I don't think it was malicious. I don't think it was really intentful. It was just a mistake that is worthy of a red card, but a mistake, something he can fix in future, because Abano's not the type of player to do anything, at least in my experience of watching him, with any kind of malicious intent. It was just a complete accident on the day. But I will tell you that, like, you see it on the telly even more, but like as soon as that tackle is made, it's written all over his face. Bearing in mind it was a good few minutes before we even came back to check it, because the game was still going. He knew before they'd even looked at it, and he definitely knew after they looked at it. And so the disappointment on his face wasn't a call has been made against me that I don't agree with. It's I've made a mistake and I don't know what's going to happen now. And actually it was a situation where, and it's happened before, because Saints know this, they've had a red card for 60 minutes in more than one game actually, where they've gone on to win. Obviously, Bath couldn't quite do it this time, but I don't think it was a red card that ruined the game. At least there seems to be a couple of people that are still pushing that argument. I'm not sure I quite agree with that. I mean, it was literally a 4-point game at the end, and the only difference was literally we scored one more try than them. That was the only difference. Like, you could really differentiate between the teams. It felt, that second half really felt like tit for tat. One person makes a move, the other team makes a move, then back and forth, and we just happened to make the last move, literally. So I don't think it ruined the game, and I don't think it's what cost them the game in the end. But obviously he's not going to feel like that, and he's going to be feeling that for a while, which is obviously unfortunate.
Yeah, it could have cost us, couldn't it? Because like Courtney said, when they go down to 14, all the pressure's on the team with the 15, and we've been in that situation, and it's just, I was just like, oh, we should win that. And loads of people around me were jumping and wooing. I was like, you don't want to be doing that. They're going to be unified. They've got nothing to lose now, and it showed. And unfortunately, luckily, we managed to get through it. But yeah, no doubt in my mind, straight red, because his shoulders hit his head. And 5 years ago, probably not even a penalty, that, but because of the head rules, it's a blatant red card. Even the very tipsy Bath fans that I was chatting to on the very cramped tube on the way home agreed. So they weren't happy, but it's a red card. I'd have said the same if it was around the other way. So you can't. You feel sorry for him, but I wouldn't say it ruined the game. If anything, it made Bath play better, and we just seemed to stop playing.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree. Well, I agree with, I think anyone who says, the game's gone soft and all this sort of stuff and should be what it was like 10, 15 years ago of all this contact, all they need to do is go and have a conversation with Steve Thompson, and they'll soon realise the importance of the head laws. But I do think it had a significant impact on the game. I think prior to Urbane going off, they were starting to get a real dominance at scrum time. They drove us pretty much off the ball twice prior to them. And, suddenly they lose a ball carrier in Barbary, and the props are having to go for longer in the game, and it evened it up at scrum time. Like the scrums became 50-50 pretty quickly, whereas prior to that we were under the metal. And
yeah, I mean, I've got no doubt it affects the game in those ways. I mean it more in terms of like, I don't think it's what lost it for them. Like, I wouldn't go so far as to say like they lost that game because they got that red card. It certainly did affect, having to take someone like Barbary off. That is not an easy call to make. And Johan van Graan was honest about it being a really difficult call. Taking someone off with his ball carrying ability, well, just all of his ability really. So it certainly did have an effect. Yeah, and like I said, the scrums did become a bit more of a lottery after that point. And it did change the way, but I kind of agree with Simon. I actually think that the way they ended up having to play in the second 40 benefited them, because it really hurt us in quite a few ways.
It definitely influenced the game. I mean, one, it simplifies what they're trying to do. It sort of unifies them. They now know what they're going to do, and they all get behind it. And then also, like you said, puts the pressure on us. And maybe that was an impact on the reason why we ultimately played pretty poorly, because that was a factor in their heads. I don't know. I mean, I thought our two halves, whilst they weren't, it wasn't horrendous, but they really struggled to put our game on the pitch. And maybe that's because they were second guessing themselves because of the extra man, and they were overthinking it. I don't know, but I think it sort of turns out that a couple of injuries, one to Odendale, one to Finn Smith, sort of reinvigorated that back line to get that last try. But before all that, let's get to the two tries that we scored after the red card. I mean, they were just phenomenal. We said to Christian Day in our special about Courtney Laws, and I said about his distribution, but we played that one play, which we just play all the time, where Alex Mitchell runs the dummy loop, and Courtney's got the option of playing it back inside to Furbank, giving it to Mitchell, or taking it in himself. Plays a perfectly timed ball to Furbank as he just comes out of nowhere from behind the ruck, ghosts through, and then it's a simple 3-on-1 at the back to put Freeman under. Like, that play is a set piece. We run it all the time, but because of the quality of the people running it, it works. Mitchell's ability to snap that ball out, Laws' presence and ability to have handling to make the right decision, and then, I mean, I thought Furbank was our best player. He ghosted
easily. Yeah,
he just sort of came out of nowhere and found the gap. The gap was huge because he wasn't there a second ago. He just sort of appeared, and he attacked the line all day at severe pace, and gave us an edge when we needed it. That little extra something, and he made that try with that line. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, I think that was key for me. It was we definitely did not play our game for like most of the time, but the times that we did were enough to get us the win. So those actual few times where we played the Saints way and we got the 3 tries and we got points on the board, it shows why we won in the end and why we're top of the table at the end. Like there were flashes in there. We just struggled, like I said, to put it all together. But I mean, Furbank was ridiculous. Like you could tell right from minute 1, 47 seconds, he's the one making that tackle on that Bath player. That's a definite try. Gallagher. If it's a definite try if he doesn't get in there. Like that was a ridiculous tackle, and he just never let up from that intensity for the whole game. I thought he was easily at best. This is nothing, because we're going to come on and talk about it later. It's nothing against Hendy, because what he did in the second half when he came on was absolutely stupidly ridiculous. But I think for a whole game, I think Furbank was definitely our best player, and that try was just, like you said, everyone's always just happens to be in the right place at the right time and making the right moves.
Yeah, I see. What you were worried about, Charles, was the breakdown, and it was right, wasn't it? We absolutely got our butts kicked there. The amount of penalties we gave away.
Yeah,
I was so worried about that. It does need sorting. Massive weakness, but
it's a running failing, isn't it? Running weakness that turnovers.
Ferbs was quality, but we just didn't we didn't have the ball really, because we can't play the game if we don't have the ball. Our set piece has been immense against the last few teams, but Bath had us. Dutoy was just immense in the scrum. He absolutely mullered the front row. And if, like you say, if Barnum had probably gone off, which he did, they may well have done it. But yeah, we've won. So I don't mind. Yeah. It's not going to go down the history, is it? It's not going to say all this, that. All it will say in the history is 2023, 2024, Northampton Saints. Yeah. It won't say because there was a red card and Saints played rubbish.
No, exactly. Yeah,
that's true.
I think the other fact that on 2 of our tries was Pearson off the set piece got massive game line over Redpath, but then the second try again, Furbank, crucial, got the outside line, bit of pace, got it to Ollie, and if you watch it back, it should have been an easy inside ball back to Furbank to run it under the posts, but Cockanasinga takes Furbank well off the ball. So he's not in support, leading to Ollie having to pull out the most miracle of chips through, finishing in the last foot of the dead ball area, with a bounce that just sort of curved perfectly away from Bath defenders. I mean, it was a hell of a finish, wasn't it?
That was proper special, because we were sat that corner. So obviously with John, his mum, and his granddad sat there, we were going mental because what a finish that was.
It was
millimeters.
It was absolutely stupid. It was stupid. And you just knew he really wanted it too, because literally the week before he'd kicked it and it had just gone slightly too far. And he was determined to actually get that put down. And like you said, it was literally like millimeters. He got his body in just the right kind of shape to make sure he stayed within the lines, and then just had to get the ball down. And it's funny though, I watched that and I remember watching it back, and the commentators, I don't know why, because I don't know if they saw something I didn't, they were convinced that needed looking at in terms of not putting the ball down. I was like, but it's clearly got pressure. Like, I was like, what are you talking?
That's what they said on the ref link. They said that on the ref link. They were like, yeah, he's got downward pressure, so it's a try.
Yeah, it was a bit. It was.
You don't
odd,
even need to be. Yeah, you don't even need to be in the field of play to put pressure. All you have to do is get down. No. If he'd ever had his foot and touched it, it's still a try. Like the rules around the grounding from a kick through are just bizarre.
Yeah.
I've seen Christian Wade be about 2 foot off the pitch and ground it and go, yeah, that's allowed. I mean, they could just make it a lot simpler and say if you're out, you're out. But all you need is downward pressure.
Yeah. No, it was a crazy try. I think that's the funny thing, is that actually those 3 tries were so good that I think if you were doing like Saints try of the season, all of them would be up there as potential considerations. It's how good they were, but also just how good we've been at that. That felt like the key difference. It felt like both of our defences actually were really strong, because like I said, we didn't have the ball that much in the second half, but they didn't put masses of points on us. We didn't put massive points on them, but it just felt like defences felt fairly even in terms of they said tit for tat, penalty here, penalty there, points here. And then it was just our attack was just better. They were obviously unlucky a few times. Can't remember if this was Gallagher again or if it was Muir or someone else, because I keep getting them confused. But the ball just bouncing out, just an awful, evil bounce that if it hadn't, he'd have picked that up and he'd have been over the line. That situation where I think Cocknessinger couldn't quite catch the ball, so it went forward into touch. And then there were at least two more that I can remember where the ball just missed the person it was meant to and went into touch. So it really was fine margins, because we did the same sort of things, like, getting turned over or dropping the ball. Both teams made a lot of mistakes. So, I think there is a lot of rhetoric around Bath being the better team on the day. I mean, you could argue that, sure, but actually I think both teams are well off the pace of what they can normally bring. But it still ended up being a really, really good final. Like, all the neutrals seemed to think it was absolutely fantastic to watch, because it was close right up until the end, but it was not fun watching that. Fun watching that in there, honestly.
No.
Yeah, I mean, after
since I was 20, I think, watching Saints.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't good for my blood pressure. I didn't dare look at my watch, see my heart rate, because banging out my chest. It was, I haven't rewatched it. I don't know if I can yet. It was such an intensive thing. I don't even know I've ever felt like that at a rugby game. I was so nervous. And it felt,
I think the difficult thing at the end as well was that, like, you weren't sure that the game was over, so there was like a slight delay in kind of people sell it. It was even watching that back, I'm like, when Christoph blew the whistle, it sounded like he was blowing to stop the clock, not to end the game, because they're quite different styles. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And then everyone talking about, oh, well, Hendy might have knocked it on. I was like, it doesn't matter. It's 82 minutes on the clock, mate. It's completely irrelevant. I was like,
if he hadn't knocked it on, it would have been a scrum. They changed the laws at the beginning of the season that you can't end the game.
Okay, right.
So
it didn't seem that many people seem to know that.
No. A lot of them were asking for a penalty because they said his knees were on the floor, but the referee didn't shout tackle. So if he doesn't say tackle, he's not been tackled, so you can rip the ball out of his hand.
Oh, yeah, no, Hendy didn't do anything wrong in the moment. He's not looking at the player's knees, is he? He's just there to strip the ball. I think... agreed. I do think watching it back, the knee is on the ground a couple of times, and so it should have been called, but it wasn't, and that's just the way it goes. And there was a very similar one, because this is where I kind of... I had a conversation on Twitter with the Bath Bites account about how, you can point out all the different penalties that could and should have been given. You're just going to go around in circles. It doesn't serve anyone anything. There was a strip that I think it was Barbary who made it in the first half. We were stripped, and you look at it back and our knee is on the floor, but it's not called as a tackle. So that one's missed. There's a couple of instances where Bath turn over the ball, but their hands clearly go on the floor first, and it's like, it just
into the first half. We're all
you'd be there. Yeah, you'd be there for.
And he gives that penalty for going off his feet. But if you see, Lawrence has got his hands over the ball. Yeah. Coles goes to tackle him, but he steps back.
Yeah.
If that goes our way, then we probably go 3 scores clear and win the game.
That's what I mean. It's like a lot of, And the reality is because we were 4 points ahead. Let's say they get that penalty. Doesn't mean they'd have won the game, because our defence, we defended that maul within an inch of our lives, and we would have done. You just can't sit there and say that definitely would have happened. Like if they were, if they got the penalty and we were 2 points ahead, you'd be like, well, yeah, maybe, because they could kick for goal. But the 4 points I felt was crucial. You literally don't know what would have happened, because our defence and their defence have been on it for most of the games. So it just doesn't serve anyone anything. And from what I can see, most of the Bath fans were as happy as you can be, really, for losing a game. Like, they felt like we were the best team all season. We were the deserved winners in terms of taking everything into its kind of entirety. And I kind of agree. I wouldn't say that we were the worst team on the pitch by a big margin, probably just if you look at it. But, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think it's a case of we were the worst team on the pitch, because ultimately the score is the judge of how well, of who's the best team. We just played poorly. That was it. I mean, and it's like at the end, that we were really lucky. We got away with an awful lot in the sense of, like, Bath didn't deliver. Gallagher could have put that 5 metres out. Defending a 5 metre line out is going to be a far tougher task than 10 metres out where he put it. None of his kicks to the corner really put them in a position other than the one which they actually scored from. Yeah. Because if you're 10 metres out, you can really attack it, and you've got that bit of give. Whereas if you're 5 minutes out, the pressure's so much that you can't afford to make any mistake, that you don't probably attack it as well as you want to do it. The mental side of it becomes a bit more prevalent. I mean, I think it's after that that sort of spell where we had that dominance, and if we'd have scored at the end of the first half when the penalty to Coles gets given against him, and it was debatable. It's a very different game, because then after that, Bath just seemed to win all the momentum, and we were hanging in, and it was only our defence that kept us in it. And I think that like I said, the sort of I think with the kick through cross kick when it was Moore who almost got it, but it bounced the wrong way. I mean, Odendell was running through treacle. He was just getting burnt down the wing, and then when he went off, and then Finn went off, it seemed to just change the shape. I don't know. Ferbs was having such a good game that he was further back in the line. He wasn't as flat, but he was attacking it faster. And then Hendy obviously came on, and he just. I mean, I've said it before. If you sleep on George Hendy in the contact, you are going to fail. He is so physical, so fast. I think it's because his feet are pointing in the wrong direction. They misread him, but he just breaks tackles all the time.
You have to give him kudos though, because the first touch he had was that jump where he knocked it forward back, and then they scored. And a lot of players that would have done their head in, but he mentally switched on and he scored that. Well, he didn't score. He gave it to Mitchell, didn't he, for that breakaway for the last try. The quality. That's why I love him starting, but I just think he's, quoting footballer, I think he's like the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer super sub of Man United. He's a super sub. He does so much work when he comes off the bench. He was just
It was ridiculous. But I do feel that, look, there's lots of talk about should we have a man of the match from the winning team? Should it be from the blah blah blah? I still think if you were going to pick it from Saints, I wouldn't have picked him, because it said that break was absolutely fantastic and like otherworldly. But literally, like you said, their score prior to that was a huge mistake from him, and so it felt like he had a 50-50 game. Literally, it just so happened that the one thing he did well was, I mean, chef's kiss. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so if you're going to pick from the winning team, I'd still pick Fairbank. It's difficult because you feel like the man of the match was either Underhill or Dutoy, like by far in terms of best people on there.
Finn Russell.
Finn was pretty good. Spencer was pretty good.
I felt like Russ and Spencer were good. I just don't think it's difficult when neither team are playing at the top of their, because even Russell and Spencer weren't as good as they could be either. Like, that was a reality of it. Nobody really was, I suppose. I just feel like Underhill or Dutoy are the ones that were doing some of the really big hits, big moves, But I mean, there's always a debate about should it always be from the winning side, but you've also got to think of it from the perspective of how comfortable are you going to be on the losing side in a final to receive a man of the match medal. Like, I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want to do that interview of like, oh, you were the best player on the pitch, but you've just come second. And I feel like people don't take that into account. Like, if you asked Underhill, like, would you have been happy if you had the man of the match medal? He'd be like, no, why? Probably no. Why would I? Because I didn't win. And so I can see why they like to pick people from winning teams, just because of comfort levels for people.
Yeah, I wouldn't want the runners-up medal either. You've lost. I always remember, this is a long time ago, when Mooj was playing. We played in the LV final. We were waiting out the back, and he came out the dressing room and he chucked me his medal because we lost to the Tigers. And I was like, I'm not going to say no, am I? Because it's a medal, but he just didn't want it because it's technically a loser's medal, isn't it? So you don't want a medal for being runners up. It's, to me, I've always been, that's me, my competitive side. If you don't win, you're a loser, and that's simply as it is. And like you said, why would you want man of the match when you've just lost? You can't be you can't be that good because your team just lost.
Yeah, I think the man of the match award it depends what you're determining on, and I think obviously Hendy had an enormous influence on the result. He came on and that bit of magic, that pace and power that got that outside around Lawrence, again, tired defenders through Mer, and then to have the sort of composure to put that perfectly weighted offload into Mitchell's hand, who perfect right foot step round the defender under the post, was like, the the moment, but then you could say that, you know, the moment of Ollie Slyton's finish, you know, because he was phenomenal as well. Some of his runs in the first half were just breathtaking. How powerful and balanced the runner he is. It's just incredible. Like,
Yeah.
does one moment mean more than another moment? You know, it's hard to judge, doesn't it?
It is difficult, yeah.
He then got the rip at the end. I mean, I thought the player who played the best match was George Furbank. But I definitely agree with Detoy and Underhill being
George was great
players in the game.
Because again, your argument, like with Hendy, like, yes, he got that kind of match-winning moment, but him being in a position to be able to do that, I think, is down to a lot of Furbank's work, getting the team into the game and getting the team on the scoreboard so that we can go in the lead from scoring that try. But at the end of the day, like you said, as much as Bath don't care that they didn't get man of the match, I don't think anyone from Saints is going to rethink about that beyond. I mean, Hendy was surprised, and you know, he swore on telly, and you can see it quite clearly when he's like "F off," and then 5 seconds later, it's like, "Wait, really?" Because he's realised that like it's not a joke. But I know he'll keep the medal obviously alongside it, but the gold winners medal is the one they all really care about. You know,
it's all that matters. You know, what a send off! Yeah. What a send off for Laws, Ludlam, Hilly, Mooney. You know, and you know a few others as well. But you know, what a fairy book. You know, you sort of, like I said before the game, and thinking, you know, it's a storybook ending. Laws, Waller, Ludlam walking off into the sunset with a, you know, Premiership medal around the neck, and then you realise halfway through when it's such a tight game, oh God, sport's not fairy tale. Like, you know, anything can happen here. It's not written in the stars, but it obviously was in the end. But yeah. That desire obviously united the team throughout to make something happen.
Yeah, and I do feel that that's what quite a lot of the Bath supporters were saying, that they felt that like to lose to a team like Northampton, they don't seem to mind it anyway because we were the best team in the league that year. But to be able to watch, because I think Laws is a legend to all of the clubs, to be honest. Like, it's not just us that think that way about him. So to be able to, I saw a lot of comments like, oh, it's a, you know, I'm actually really happy to see that Laws and Ludlam and Waller got to lift that trophy at the end. Like, I can't be sad about losing when, you know, that happens. Like, it was a story that a lot of people were actually kind of invested in. Like, I've seen a lot of Leicester supporters, Saracen supporters, other teams, like, that's a perfect ending to the season. You know, the best team of the season won, and you got to send some of these absolute legends off, like, with a trophy. And I've got absolutely no doubt that Bath will be back, and they'll be back strong as well, because, you know, they are a really, really good side. And as I know that this is going to sound weird because we've just come off the back of winning the trophy, but I feel like they're the team to beat next year. They could be the team to beat. Like, they're very, very strong. They're going to bounce back better. They're keeping most of that kind of squad together. And we're not losing masses of people, but for me, it's more the people that we're losing, and then who is to come in. That's not to crap on anyone coming in. I just mean the people coming in or making the step up are young. So it's literally just an unknown as to what's going to happen for us next year. So, you know, our 9 through to 15, our backs, that's all solid and that's being kept together, and that's reliable. We can rely on them playing well next year. But obviously we're going to have Manny starting games. We're going to be seeing Kemeny. I don't know much about him, so it'll be interesting to see there. We're going to see Munga playing a lot more, probably start to see Pollock coming through, hopefully, Lockett. And all of these are still unknowns at that level, but all of them are going to be coming in and playing a decent amount of matches. So I feel like if that all comes in and clicks, we will still be a really difficult team to beat. I've got no doubt about that. But it just feels like Bath and what they are capable of doing next season is less of an unknown than us. But it should be a really good season again next season. And I'm really pulling for Bath because I think they're a great team. Johan van Graan seems like a really nice guy and has done some extraordinary stuff with them. So, yeah, I'm obviously going to go for Saints all the way, but definitely pulling for Bath to get themselves back up there and have another good season.
They were a sleeping giant, though, weren't they, really? They needed Finn Russell just to take them next day. You can say what you like that, honestly. I haven't seen him play live, like at a match, because he didn't play against the Gardens and I didn't go to Bath.
Yeah.
And just watching him, there's no way he's not the 10 for the Lions. He's just insane. Like he didn't even play that well, and he's still the little dinks, the little passes. But yeah, they're going to be the team to beat next year, definitely. Especially with them.
It would have been nice to have seen a bit more of because Finn Smith didn't look 100% fit from the outset. I think the past few weeks he's definitely been struggling with something, and he's had to play a hell of a lot of minutes.
I was going to bring that up.
So,
I reckon he's been carrying an injury for at least 3 or 4 weeks because he's gone down with cramp about 60 minutes every match, and I still think he was playing because we needed him, basically. For a 21-year-old kid, that's kudos to be leading your team with an injury.
Yeah.
No, he's a special player.
So I didn't feel like we got to quite see that battle there, but it's going to be interesting. Obviously, I'm just going to mention it briefly. Obviously, with George Ford now ruled out of the England tests, and it's now pretty much a straight shot between Marcus and Finn, most likely, as to who their kind of starting 10 or, first choice 10 is going to be. But, I felt like Russell was good. He was good. It just would have been good. We just didn't quite get to see the battle. And I think that's really because of, we didn't play amazing, but also, like I said, I think he's been carrying an injury for a while. And I think it harks back to something I said on one of the previous podcasts that, yes, we do have Fairbank as a backup 10, but he's so good at 15 that I think it's really important next season that we actually use Savala. And we actually make use of having signed an actual bona fide fly half. Because as great as it is to see Fairbank, great as it is that we have Fairbank to cover there, if you're going to keep getting injuries in the back line, you need to rely on. I just think it's good as a team to have an actual bona fide fly half as backup. I'm not saying that Fairbank is not. He would still probably be second choice, most likely. But I don't know, that obviously we won the game, but those injuries that we got, we had to do a hell of a lot of shifting around, and that could have come back. It didn't in the end, but it could have come back to bite us. I just think having another sort of fly half on the bench is usually a good idea. But yeah, I don't think it's a serious injury. He seemed all right. I just think, obviously, when you're playing, any kind of niggle does kind of come back to the fore, as it were. So he definitely didn't look 100%. And then obviously Berger, that injury unfortunately looks serious. He wasn't just on crutches, they'd already put a knee brace on him. So even if it's just precautionary, there's still a feeling in their mind, obviously, that they think that's not going to be good.
He had a heated wrap on rather than brace, so it pumps hot water around, so it warms up your leg. That was on straight away.
And then Finn, like I said, it looked like he just got kind of almost like a blow to the ankle that sometimes can make your leg go a bit. And he just couldn't quite run it off, could he? And then obviously we also lost Langdon, because Langdon, when he dropped that ball and knocked on, it was simply because he could not feel his arm, and he said, "I can't feel my arm, and I've done it, it's done." And they should have taken him off the second that they saw it, to be honest, because it was pretty obvious. When someone's shaking their arm out like this, I was like, he's either got very intense pins and needles or he can't feel it. That means as soon as he gets the ball, he's not keeping it, because it's just not possible. So he should have come off. It didn't matter in the end, but that knock on was very close to a line, and that could have ended up having huge sort of impact on the game. And he has not been named in the England setup, because I think that's an injury. I think that's a proper injury to the shoulder, most likely. So
that was definitely But you're being a rugby player, you'd know you could break your leg and you say, "No, I'm fine." He doesn't want to go off in the final, but it could have cost us. So you're right. The minute he got absolutely poleaxed, he should have gone, my shoulder's gone, get me off, because I can't catch.
I mean, to be honest, he did say that it had.
Yeah, it was an easy catch, and he just went to catch it, just dropped it. You could tell his arm was gone. So, unfortunately, I do think that's a bad injury, because if he's not been picked because of that, if that's the only reason, if he's not been picked any other place, Borthwick.
we don't know for sure. Just that it has been reported that it is because he did sustain an injury. So I guess we'll find out a bit more about that, because I find it very hard to believe that, because there's quite a few uncapped players being picked in that squad. I find it difficult to believe that they wouldn't pick him if he was fit. So I'm thinking that it really must be an injury. But then Finn got picked, so his injury obviously isn't awful. I think it's just a small kind of thing, probably, that's just hasn't had the chance to heal. But now he's got a couple of weeks off. I don't know when England camp and all that stuff starts, like the actual date, but he'll certainly have a bit of time off before that. So he should hopefully be great. And then it's obviously incredible that Ollie has been called up finally.
Yeah, I think they're straight into camp pretty quickly. I don't think it's long before they go into camp and then go off. They've got the game against Japan first up. I mean, for me, I think it's the two Smiths are going to that's it for the next decade, really. They'll be competing for that 10 jersey. Be interesting to see if Finn can get a foothold in ahead of Marcus, but we'll see. I think he'll get a chance.
You do mention about Fly Half, though, about Charlie Surveyor. What about the young lad we signed? Has he got a double barrel name? Make Peace. He looks decent, so he could be there next year.
Yeah. I can't see a scenario next year where Finn's not available. Furbanks doesn't start at 10, only because of the quality of the back three players that can come in to replace Furbank as well. If you're dropping Ram in.
It also depends what's going on there, because Ram has not played. Something's definitely going on there. It must be. Hutchison was never going to get selected. Let's be honest, he hadn't played enough. Depends if that back injury has been overcome or not. Like, there's a lot of questions going into. And I agree. I still think that Furbank is going to be your kind of first choice 10, and he is great in that role. It's just he's so good at 15, and like it really depends. Like I said, what else is kind of happening, but there's no way they've kept Zavala on if their plan is not to just use him at all. So I'm sure we'll see him. But it may just be in the cup competition, the Premiership Cup or whatever, if that's still called that. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, someone's got to run your attack in defence and training. You've got to have quality there, otherwise you're not getting a good look in training in the week. I think next season can look after next season. I think there's got to be a note to sort of say about some of those players you mentioned there who you're so unlucky. They've contributed all the year and they weren't picked. Hutchinson, Litchfield, Angus Scott Young, Haffer, Paul Hill, so many players who put in such a good shift. Ram, obviously, key as well, put in such a big effort this season. Part of the reason we made the finals, and obviously selection and what have you is the reason why they didn't get there. But just shows you the depth of quality of the squad. When we were speaking to Christian in the week, he said about the depth of the squad when they won the league. Well, when we got to the European final, the few years before, it was like we had 15 good players, and everyone below that, there was a bit of a drop off, and the depth wasn't there. But the depth in this squad, it's not. I don't think it'll be the same next year. But this year, the depth is just outrageously good, and it's the reason why we've been the best team all season, because you need a squad effort to be at the top of the game all year.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, like I said, because Hutchison, for example, scoring that try to get us the away win at Exeter is, it's that extra win that keeps you top of the table. You know what I mean? Like he definitely had a big part to play, but also I suppose he'd only played one. He'd been offered months and months and months, only played one game, so they were never picking him, and that's not anything to do with him. It's just you can't risk that. Someone who's played one game since they've been back from quite a big injury, you can't do it, and it's going to be. Look, it's going to be good in terms of competition. It may mean in long term we struggle to keep all of the ones that we want to keep because, like I said, if everyone's fit, I mean, Dingwall and Freeman are your starting centre combos. So there are going to be some people that perhaps don't get the look in that they want, but at least you've got the depth there, like you said, for things that might happen, because we're going to be fighting on. You're fighting on a lot of fronts, aren't you? You're fighting on, the Premiership Cup is still a front to fight on. You've still got people that will be interesting to see. Then you've got the Prem. Then obviously we're back in the Champions Cup again. So yeah, that depth is key. As you said, without that depth, I don't think we'd have won this year. And without Lee Radford, I don't think we'd have won this year. I think that's made such an insane difference to us this year. Like they put the stat up, I think, in the build-up that we conceded over 90 tries last season, and this season it was 60. And we had one of the best defences in the league in terms of. So, we've cut out literally a third of the tries that we're conceding in one season. Like, it's made a massive, massive difference. And the defence showed in that game against Bath as well, because, like you said, they had so much momentum. We could have let them steamroll over us at some point. They had so much momentum and so much go forward, and we didn't. And so, yeah, I don't think we win without bringing Bradford in this year. I think, and the players, getting good defensively. But I also do agree about the breakdown. Like, we got away with it for like the first 2/3 of the season, and then I don't know what's happened in the past maybe month or two, but we felt like we really struggled for some reason, and it's going to need to change next season because you need an all-round game. When we got lucky this year, but you do need an all-round game, and clubs will have begun to identify that now. and that's going to be a key area for people next year, because like you said, turn us over and take the ball away from us, that we can't do what we do.
No.
And like I said, we saw it in key games, didn't we? Like Rafael turned us over and absolutely redonkulous. I mean, we won that game easily because our attack was great, but
And
against perhaps yeah, but perhaps, you know, against other teams, it makes the difference between a win or a loss. So yeah, it definitely needs to be worked on. But I think we were.
That's how we play, isn't it? We don't really, we don't
No.
compete at the ruck because we know we need the ball out quick. So, but when we do, mess it up and then we give away a penalty. I don't think we've given away so many penalties in one half as we did in that final. It was just, it was so stressful. But yeah, I don't know how we're going to sort it because the lads we brought in, they're not renowned for going over the ball. They're not a Ravel. They're not a.
I mean, for me,
I don't think it's a player thing. I think it's a tactic thing. Like you said there, we make the active choice of not competing as much and not securing the ball because we want people on their feet so there can be options to keep the ball and create that width. So it's a mindset more than anything, or a tactic. But it's our biggest weakness by a long way. But I agree fully with Jess said there. Our biggest strength this year has probably been our defence. Like, you know, Lee Radford, like, we won the semi-final and the final playing poorly because our defence was awesome. And it kept us in game. It kept us in the game in Croke Park when we didn't play well. I mean, you've got to point out the 3 big games of the year we haven't actually performed well, and there's got to be a reason why that is. And maybe, you know, Finn Smith, I don't think in those 3 games, and like you said, there maybe is an injury or there, but I don't think he delivered to the ability he can. And that's because he's 21, 22 possibly, and he'll be a better player for playing these games. Whereas George Furbank, he rose to the occasion, and that's because he's a 27-year-old lad now. He's in the prime of his career, but he thrust himself into those games, took control. You know, the pass, he set up all our tries in the final, and then like the pass for Berger in the semi-final. You know, he's just stepped up and become this. He'll be our captain next year, like you've said before, Jen.
Yep.
Like, there's no other option. He deserves it. He's really stepped into the forefront of being an outstanding player.
And I think the thing with Smith in particular is that you just know he's going to be special. Like he's shown it for lots of games. Like you said, it hasn't worked for him in the 3 biggest games of our season. But you think about the away Munster performance, the drop goal against Leicester, which I'm always going to remember because it just made me laugh so hard. Like he's just done some incredible things. You just know he's only going to get better. And like I think I might have mixed up with someone else, but I'm sure he did an interview where he said like they got the red card and it actually scared us a little bit because you go from slight favourites to overwhelming favourites. And they said he's young and it affects you, and it won't affect him the same if it was to happen. You know, let's say it's a year later and another red card happens and, you know, we get the benefit from that. I don't think they would play or act the same way. And even the guys that you said, Fairbank, who's 27, Mitchell is 27, a couple of them are, Freeman's still young, 23, 24, I think. But they're still young in terms of like experience in those games because they haven't had those experiences yet. So everyone, even Fairbank, who threw everything at it, still has stuff to learn from that. All of them do. And that's just going to make you a better team. Like coming through and winning a final, winning a semi-final, a final, almost winning another semi-final, not playing your best. You can only go up from there because, like I said, I don't think they would play like that again. I don't think they would let the favourites tag or kind of what happens in the game get into their heads as much. They did this time, and that's just, you know, we just got lucky that we came out of it on the right side. But they've all still got maturing to do. Even the ones who are sort of 26, 27, there's still stuff they can learn about being in finals because none of them have they? We haven't been in anything huge before this year. And so it's new. It was a new experience for all of them. And they didn't handle it perfectly in that second half, but they handled it well enough. And that's the key thing, isn't it? That's what makes teams. Winning those games when you're not playing your best is what makes teams.
You got to look at Finn. Look at Finn. Like he's 21. You got to remember that.
Yeah.
And he said I've watched a few clips on Facebook. He said like they got absolutely battered by us when we played Worcester at home. And I always remember Dan Bigger went over to him and sat with him for 5 minutes and just said, "Look, lad, I think it might have been his debut or he'd been playing a few." And he said that stuck with him. And he said, "If you take me back 18 months, we got beat by you guys. Then Worcester went out of business. I've come to the Saints, and now look, I'm a Premiership champion." He's 21. You imagine what that lad's going to be like in 5-6 years. He's going to be world. He's already up there. He's going to be world class. 21,
agreed.
and I think it. Like I said, I don't know if it's true. I think he's been carrying an injury for at least a month because his leg has gone every game.
Yeah.
Crap. And a fit lad like that shouldn't be getting it. I think he's been carrying something. And to play on and carry the team like he has, for a 21-year-old, that's maturity above beyond.
100%. I mean, there you go. There's a few comments there. Sign of a good team is you can win when you play badly, and also from Jess, the only way is up. So we will see what comes. The last few comments on the on just the celebrations and the sign of all the thousands of people flocked to the crowd and to the game, to the stadium and the city or the town even for the bus tour, and then Courtney Law's turning up to the press conference, shirt off, ski goggles on. I mean, they must have had a hell. You know, they're enjoying it. That's for sure, aren't they? What a sight to see the whole town.
I mean, I didn't make it to the parade, but I was there in the robber bar when they came back, and it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. So they got back about 9:30. They come off the bus, and they're all absolutely gone already at this point, right? Like there's like maybe a handful of sober ones in a group of just an absolute mess, and in particular the young guys. So, you know, they went in and they'd fenced off a little area. If you walk in from the front, like on the right, because there's like a room at the back with the doors. So like they went in there, had a bit to eat, and then they started coming out in dribs and drabs about an hour after. And it was just mental. They had microphones, so people were like, George Furbank led a song, Alex Coles led a song, like all of them were just singing multiple different random things. At one point, Vesti comes out, gets up on a chair onto the table, starts singing, convinces Phil to do the same thing, and Phil is, you know, you get the impression he's quite reserved. He certainly isn't like a laddie lad like Vesti is, but he gets him up on a chair next to him, starts singing with him. Players come round, you know, high five everyone, take pictures, sign stuff and everything. And yeah, so I didn't feel too bad missing out on the parade, because I actually felt like what I got from that experience was, what I got to see there was kind of mental. I mean, Vesti at one point ended up in the crowd, and then I didn't even realise he was behind me because I was right at the front of the barriers at that point. And just he's singing away, and then just his beer spills all over me. And they were all going for it. The young guys in particular. I mean, Courtney came out. They all came out. A couple of them went a bit early because I think for some of them it's not their thing. But I would say that like Tommy Freeman and Finn Smith and George Furbank in particular were having the absolute night of their lives, honestly. Like Finn Smith couldn't even stand up at the end. Pretty sure he was sort of falling asleep in the middle of half of it because he was just completely gone. Tommy Freeman at one point just took his shorts off and was parading around in his like tighty whitey undies for some unknown reason. It was absolutely crazy, and it looks like they carried it on into the parade. I mean, those videos of Augustus on the drum having an absolute whale of a time. I mean,
they were absolutely, you could see they hadn't stopped drinking. They were on top of that Ori stroke bus when they turned up, because luckily I stood right near where they turned up. Finn Smith was gone. He was totally, absolutely paralytic. And Alex Waller in the interview said, I've never been kissed so many times by a bloke in my life. Finn Smith has never stopped kissing me. And it was it was just mad. The parade, they all had beers in their hands. Yeah, and they were singing on top of the bus. And it was just mental. And you say about Douse must have been drinking as well, because his voice was as croaky as all of ours. It was just mad to see thousands of people just seeing these three buses coming up the middle of just by the Guildhall and just panning around. It must have been mad for these young kids that have just won this trophy. All these people cheering them, singing Shoe Army. It was mad. It was just mad. The town, for a little town like Northampton, to win the trophy again. It's such a special moment, man. And
it does make you realise how much of a rugby town, and this is nothing against the Cobblers, but we're a rugby town through and through.
Oh, God.
The amount of people that were there, I saw it on the thing, I was like, it's mental. It looked absolutely mental, like the amount of people that showed up for that. And it looked incredible. And like I said, I got a ridiculous amount of videos of, like, I think at one point Ethan Waller came out and just sat on a chair and started singing with Ollie, like not even songs related to the Saints, just random songs that they felt like classic karaoke kind of songs. And then obviously everyone kept singing songs for Ollie, so it was like Ollie, 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 oi, 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 or there's only one Ollie Slightholme, and he was looking at everyone like he was just like, this is the best thing
there was
like ever. He was completely in awe of like everyone just singing that at him. He was very surprised. And I was like, no, people love you, mate. Like, people love all of them.
There was a really nice moment actually when they were all stood on. They put a stage up just to the right of the guild hall. The steps are, and Ollie was there, and his dad was next to him, and all of us started singing "Ollie, Ollie, Ollie," and John just broke into tears, and he was like, "Stop, stop!" And then this is what you play the game for. So it was such a special moment, special night, special day.
Yeah,
we don't do it the easy way. That's Saints, and it's I've been supporting this club 38 years, and they've nearly killed me many times. But days like Saturday don't come along very often, so you have to enjoy them.
I'm just praying if they can not wait another 10 years, that would be beneficial. I mean, it destroys your life for a weekend.
Oh, I don't know you can deal with that every year. That's for sure. I mean, once a decade.
I'm not saying every year. But I don't want to be a team that has to keep
waiting
waiting a decade in between either.
I don't know. Once in a decade, I think it's all right for me because I'm not sure how often I can go through that in my life. But I think one couple of things there. I mean, I wouldn't underestimate Phil Dowson when he's behind closed doors and drinks on.
100%.
I don't think he's a quiet man at all. But I think that
I don't think he is privately. I think publicly he kind of, he's not a big. He'll do the interviews and stuff, but he is reserved, like in terms of a public. I've got no doubt he's not like that behind closed doors, but people still weren't expecting him to kind of get up on a chair and start that. Like, and he seemed surprised that he was doing it himself as well. Like, he was sort of singing along, and then he looked at Vesti and he looked at him for a good 10 seconds. He was like, "I'm just gonna have to get up on this chair, aren't I?" Like, and he did. It was crazy.
I forgot to mention earlier there was a lovely moment I saw because I was right down the bottom. Rob Horn was at the final.
Yeah.
And Courtney brought the trophy over and lifted it up with him, which I thought was a lovely moment because obviously
that's nice.
He probably would he have still been here? I can't remember when he did his injury. He might have still been here, but yeah, it was nice to see. And Boydie was at the final as well, so I had to have a chat.
A fair few of them were. I mean, Mila was there with Tom Wood. They went together. They travelled together because there's a picture of them in a car with their kids. They travelled together and then they met up with Christian because there's a picture of them with Christian. Hartley was there. He was on the big screen. Like you said, Boydie was there. I'm sure there were others probably dotted about that just didn't get spotted. I should imagine a fair few of them were definitely there. And if they weren't, they were watching. Like I know, for example, Ben Foden was definitely watching because I've seen some of the comments that he's made on social media about the game and stuff. So, yeah, there's still a lot of people invested in the Saints long after, they finished playing for them.
I think
we clearly made it our home, though. It was from where I didn't watch it on telly, but from the sound all the way around. I copy our sounds, but it was Saints, not Bath.
I think for the likes of Boydie and Horn, this victory is sort of very much part of them as well. They're part of the sort of the regeneration, and they started the project that's led to this. Obviously those who won it 10 years ago it's great to see them at the ground, and they're part of the club forever. But it would have been a special day for Boydie and Horn and all those that in the last few years have contributed. But yeah, I think we need to wrap it up. I mean, it was you could keep talking about what a day that was for forever, really. But we need to let people get back to their lives, I suppose. So everyone, thank you very much for listening. Next week we'll have another show, and at some point we'll finish the season. But we will be back next week. Please follow us on social medias. Listen to old episodes of the interviews with Christian Day and John Slytome, and thank you again for listening. So it's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from
me.